All right, and hey, welcome back to the Gulf Coast Growth Show. We are back in the studio, excited to kick off really season 6, and then with the new studio edition, which is kind of exciting. So getting back in, there's been a lot of work behind the scenes to pull all this back together, and then to kick everything off, we're here with the CEO or the president of the Economic Alliance, Houston Port Region, Chad Burke. Been on the show a few times, but there's no better way to kick off the year and the new season than to have him join us, and again with my co-host Clint Aiken. So we're going to dive right in. We're going to talk a little bit about mission today, some of the changes that we've made, I guess, to the show, and really trying to bring some new content, some new value for our audience, and then some of the development that's taking place, and a little bit about legislation that's going on, or the legislation session that's taking place this year as well. So Chad, why don't we fire away?
Sure. So starting out, I always like to start everything with what the mission of the organization is, and then we can drill down to this specific initiative, which is the podcast. But the Economic Alliance, the mission is really straightforward, and that's to grow this regional economy. That we do that through adding capital investment and creating jobs. So that's the core of what we do, that drives what we do, that kind of keeps us in the middle of the road. The neat thing about this podcast and any and all of our marketing and communication efforts is that what we want to do is be able to tell the story of what's happening in this region, what the opportunities, highlight our key stakeholders and leaders, and really just tell the story of what's happening in the Houston Port region, and market that region, to help it grow. So this is a key part of telling that story, and really a great platform to do it. Obviously, we had started this pre-COVID, but then once COVID hit, this became really a key effort in being able to kind of connect with people remotely and simply and easily, and then tell that story of what they're doing in this region to help lead.
Great, fantastic. And so last week was our first meeting. I think you, and we want to thank you as part of the show for having collaborated with some of the other marketing professionals here in the region.
Yeah.
Kind of put together, I guess, a powerhouse team. And I think what we're going to see is a lot better guest involvement and communication and ideas. Our staff is our staff. Kaylin does a fantastic job, but really our members are just so talented, and to tap into our members and leverage the expertise and communications and marketing people that we have on our membership roles through our communications advisory board is just going to really lift the program. We've already gotten tremendous ideas and themes to kind of take us through this next season. That'll feed over into our newsletter as well, so we'll match up newsletter content with podcast content and guest speakers, guest writers for articles. So we've got some really, really wonderful people
the best is coming.
On that. Yeah, absolutely.
So on an episode that we're shooting today, and it'll be released, we talked with Regina about a lot of the economic development that's kind of forecast for 21, and so she speaks specifically to that. But talk about some of the, we know about economic development, but talk about some of the other key initiatives and focal points that are on your agenda for 2021.
Absolutely. And I always want to remind everybody who all makes up the Economic Alliance, because it's not just the staff. I mean, we're here to support our members, but our membership includes 11 cities in this region that surround the 25-mile stretch of the Houston Ship Channel. It includes Harris County and the Port of Houston itself, as well as close to 250 private companies that work and do business in this region. So that's the strength of the organization. And from that strength, or those stakeholders, comes the initiatives that we use to support our economic development that Regina spoke about, that you'll hear on her podcast. But some of those initiatives that make us competitive in this region that come from our members are freight infrastructure, transportation and infrastructure that supports moving people and product through this region. If we don't do that well, we're not competitive on the economic development front. Another one is policy work. So whether it's at the state level, which is in session right now, or at the federal level, which is ongoing annually, we have to create legislation and make that supports this region, and we have to make our voices heard in DC and in Austin, and on a continual basis. It's out of sight, out of mind, so we have to be in front of those folks all the time. We develop those relationships to do a good job and hopefully they hear our members. Again, they don't hear the staff. They hear that collective voice of 12 or 11 cities, the county, the port, and 250 member companies. You know,
wow,
tens of thousands that y'all support.
Absolutely, absolutely.
It's not. I mean, you mentioned the size of the companies and the different cities, but it's tens of thousands of people.
Absolutely, absolutely. So on the infrastructure front. Man, just as busy as ever. I literally had to start writing down kind of some of the all of the projects that we have going in the region right now, and starting at our far southeast section. You know, currently under construction, almost a year ahead of schedule, is the Seabrook to Kemah section of Highway 146. Right, that's a key artery coming in and out of this region. Eventually, that will be part of the Grand Parkway. Okay, as it runs through the east side of Harris County. After that is completed, just north of that is the section of 146 that goes from Seabrook basically to the Fred Hartman Bridge. Mm-hmm. That will be expanded from 2 lanes to 6 lanes with shoulders. Mm-hmm. In between that, construction begins this week on the Port Road expansion, which feeds off of Highway 146, takes all of those goods and services into those chemical facilities and to the port terminal there, the Port Road expansion. That begins construction this week, actually, and will take about a year to do. Moving from there up to one of our main arteries, Highway 225, working with TxDOT over the last 2 or 3 years, we've identified that as one of the areas that has several different things that need to be redeveloped, not just capacity, but access in and out as it feeds into Barber's Cut Boulevard and that terminal. TxDOT has just begun their PEL study, the Planning, Environmental, and Linkages study, that will reevaluate the entire reach from 146 to 610 and from all the way down 225 to 610. It will encompass the bridge that goes over 610, and it will swing all the way down to 45 and that connectivity point right there. So that entire thing is under study right now, and for the next 2 years they'll be working on that, taking feedback, analyzing studies and traffic flows and usage, and from that will come recommendations that we can then engineer, fund, and build over the next decade or so. So that's big. And then one final really big one that's going on right now that everybody's probably familiar with is the new Beltway 8 Ship Channel Bridge, right? Nearly $1 billion project. It's going to vastly improve the flow of traffic.
Wow.
Create 2 separate bridges with one-way traffic on each bridge. If you drive that bridge, daily or weekly like we do here in this region, there's no shoulders and it's 2 lanes each way.
Yeah.
And if something falls off the truck in front of you, like did me one time, you very quickly have two blowouts with traffic right behind you on the uphill section of that road. So that was a fun day. But that is being worked on. That's a county and Hector project. The folks at Hector are doing a great job. Commissioner Garcia at Precinct 2 is really got his people looking at that as well. So that's going to be a huge improvement to our infrastructure here. So that's a lot going on infrastructure right now. But we have to do that. We have to continually promote that so that we're moving product and people through this region to stay competitive. So that's critical.
And we're going to touch up as we get ready to wrap up on the legislative session. And you said a lot. Yeah, you're moving. I like it. So we're going to make sure we get there. But I want to remind our audience too, why all that work takes place is real simple. When you think of the Teslas and all these other companies that are choosing to come to the Texas region, it's pick Houston. Right, and then so you sometimes we get wrapped up in our box over here, but that person who's living over here, over in the Galleria or in this other section, that's more jobs, opportunity, companies that choose to come here.
Yeah.
Because the infrastructure and the work that gets this logistic stuff solved over on this part of town. So it's really Texas encompassing is really critical in this hub.
If you're an attorney or you're running an accounting firm or whatever, some people, they don't always understand what happens here and how that translates to their job.
Absolutely.
But it means it's everything to everybody for the city of Houston.
Yeah, we have so much going for us here on the southeast side of the port region. I mean, it's the nation's #1 exporting port, right? So goods and goods go through this port and come into this port. It's the most critical port in the entire country. It's the #1 energy port in the country. It's the largest petrochemical manufacturing complex in the world. We've got a base of population and skilled workforce that can manufacture and move things, and there's just nowhere else like it in the country. So we've got some real built-in advantages that we have to continue to work on to sell, to grow this part of the economy.
Fantastic. And so behind the scenes, there's always work going on between what we're doing here and then what's taking place in Austin.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
And then what happens in Austin has a huge impact here. I want to thank you in advance for all the work you guys do to make that a part of the work that we're doing. So tell us a little bit about that session that's coming up, and then we'll wrap up the show.
Yeah, so real quickly, I mean, each of our initiatives, whether it's transportation or policy or even workforce development or economic development, is led by our members, as I mentioned. Each of those initiatives has a committee that is chaired by a member. Dennis Winkler chairs our policy committee and has done a fantastic job for years. But from that committee comes the issues that our members are facing as we go into a state session. We'll create a white paper, which has been done before the end of the year. We delivered that white paper in our legislative kickoff session with all of our state legislators that represent this region. And then we are in constant contact with them. Many of them and their staff attend our meetings. Even during session last week, we had a policy meeting, and we had elected officials sitting in their offices in Austin on our policy committee meeting, hearing the concerns that we've got, checking on bills that are currently going on. So there are a couple things that we're tracking right now. One specific bill is the reauthorization of the Chapter 313 tax incentive. It's our biggest and most effective tool when we're attracting large cap industrial investment into this region. We've used it extensively over the last decade, and like I say, it's our most effective tool. It works with the school districts and the state. It's a win-win for our companies and our school districts. It's backed by the Texas Enterprise Fund, so there's really no losers on the school side. The school districts really can use that as a tool to help fund their budgets, and then the industry receives a tax incentive to come and locate here. And I have to say this as an economic developer, occasionally you will hear folks say, "Hey, why do we give away tax money when those companies are coming here?" I can tell you for a fact that every one of our large cap investments, if it's $100 million, if it's $500 million, if it's $1 billion, those are being competitively sited between here, Louisiana, South Texas, Mexico, Singapore, China. Every one of those projects, do you think they're going to spend $100 million without deciding, okay, where is the most effective place we can put that facility, manufacture those goods to maximize our profits? And so we have to be competitive when it comes to that. The Chapter 313 agreement for the state of Texas is one of the tools that we have that says, hey guys, come here, we'll give you this tax incentive to locate here. And 10 years from now, when that tax abatement rolls off, we get all of those taxes. We get all of those jobs that they've created, that 7-to-1 indirect job creation that the chemical industry has. All of those service and support companies. That accountant sitting in the office on the west side of town is there because they're exactly. So it's got a huge economic impact, and it's one of the tools that we use. And so we work real closely with the TEDC, the Economic Development Council of Texas. We work really closely with the TCC, the Texas Chemistry Council in Austin. We support both of those organizations. In fact, our committee and staff help review bills that are currently going through session right now to make sure that there are some that we need to play defense on, and there's some that we need to support. And so we'll be in Austin. Even during this COVID year, we'll be in Austin this year, before the month's out probably, working our legislators supporting these specific issues that support this region. So.
Well, as always, I think you're a great testament to you're a good signature person for the region because of the work that you do, and it speaks to the work that we do, and it speaks to our stakeholders, and really, we constantly see guest after guest after guest that comes on this show that these people are committed to the region. And so people, you see competitive companies, competitive atmosphere.
Absolutely.
When it comes to how do we solve for Texas and how do we solve for Houston and the Port region, they put their heads together and they go to work, and I love that.
If you're not a stakeholder with Economic Alliance, you got to have Chad in your corner. So please look into becoming a member. I don't think you can find a better advocate for your business, for your employees, for anything that you're trying to accomplish in this region without Chad.
Yep. We talk a lot about that on Regina's show, so make sure you tune into that, because being able to get in contact with a person, if you're trying to get a stoplight put up at a place so that you can get better traffic and you're running into a problem, you can call these guys and they figure it out. And so it's and if you haven't seen it, there was an episode with Chad about PPE and all the phenomenal success stories we had when all that was happening with Corona. So it's one after another example that's taking place in this region. So again, if you're an advocate for our industry and our region, please don't be afraid to share this episode, the story of the Economic Alliance. Get involved, and more importantly, don't just show up, participate.
Absolutely.
Get out in the field and be a part of this. We want to thank you again, Chad. Thanks for the organization. For our audience, you can subscribe. Go to the Houston Economic Alliance Port Region's website. There's a subscription. You can go in and see at any of the sites that are Spotify, YouTube, all those places are available. We have a history of our episodes. You can tune into those. Make sure you subscribe, and you'll get a weekly update on your phone, and pass this on to your friends. Looking forward to seeing you guys on our next episodes. Thank you very much.
And thanks to these guys for doing a great job carrying the flag for us.
Make sure you don't edit that out. So
Thank y'all.
Thanks.
Thanks a lot.
All right.